It's hard week to week to see that there is a pattern that happens during the church year. We are at the next to the last week of the church year. The church calendar year, if you will, begins with Advent. And in 2 weeks, we'll begin to prepare ourselves and to be ready for celebrating again the birth of Jesus. But this week, we are towards the end of the Gospel of Luke this year, and so we're towards the end of his time on earth. And what we heard this morning were words that Jesus really gave a sermon to his disciples as they were admiring the temple and the beauty and thinking, this is going to be here forever. And Jesus reminded them that no, it wouldn't. And we know that some 70 years later, the temple was destroyed and almost completely leveled. Well, now, I don't know about you, but I'm not sure that Jesus would be exactly a great motivational speaker, because what he says to the disciples is pretty scary. The temple's going to be destroyed. There's going to be war. There's going to be famine. There's going to be betrayal. There's going to be death for the disciples. Well, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't necessarily think that I'd be Johnny on the spot to sign up for that. And yet here we are. Some 2,000 years later, still in the midst of wars, in the midst of famines and droughts, in the midst of betrayals, for many, even death. But before we get too distressed about the things that Jesus said, there is an inscription, there is a word of hope. And the hope is that in the midst of whatever happens, God is with us. Jesus promises that he will give to the disciples the words that they will need, which means that he will not leave them alone. And there is the nugget, if you will, the ashes that come from the stubble, or the new world that comes from the stubble, the hope. Well, all week long I was reading about this in a devotional that I get once a day. I was reading this poem called I Worried. And most of the week I kept thinking, what does this have to do with what we're hearing on Sunday? I worried. But I kept reading it over and over. And I think it was Friday, it kind of hit me. It was like, worried? Well, of course we worry. The things that Jesus talked about caused the disciples to worry, I'm sure, because they are in Jerusalem when he tells them that. They know that he is going to die there. At least they've been told. And what's it going to mean for them? And of course, these things that create in us a need or a desire to worry are real. These things that Jesus talks about. And yet, he tells them because he doesn't want them to be surprised. Perhaps we worry because we're not sure of what's going to happen, and we don't want to be surprised by something. And Jesus says these things that have been happening are going to continue. But I want to read that poem to you, because in it is also a word of hope. This is by Mary Oliver. It was written in 2010, and she just passed away, I believe it was in January of this year. It says, I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I am, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get rheumatism, lockjaw, dementia? Finally, I saw that worrying had nothing and gave it up, and took my old body and went out into the morning and sang. Yes, there are things that happen in this world that we can't control, things that invite us to worry. And yet, the hope is that not only is Jesus in the midst of it, but Jesus is working in and through us in it. And so because of his love and his grace, we are able to set aside the worry and sing and laugh and have joy and love and serve.